Imagine this. You're at school and a fire starts. The room is being filled with smoke, people are panicking, but no one can leave because 5 people in the corner haven't decided what they need to do yet. This is exactly how the United Nations Security Council operates in today's world. Created to protect peace, the Security Council has become an undemocratic institution that protects the powerful and fails the people it was designed to serve. It is because we recognize the harm it does to global justice and equality that we on Side Proposition are proud to propose the motion. This House would abolish the United Nations Security Council. During this speech, I'm going to do 2 things. First, I will offer some notes on framing. Second, I will provide the first 2 substantives for the proposition, and my partner will then deliver the third in the next proposition speech. We believe that this debate should be framed on 2 key ideas. Number 1, structural injustice. The UNSC is built on a system of global inequality. 5 nations hold permanent seats and veto power, which means they can block any resolution regardless of how much international support a resolution has. The structure is not only outdated, it is undemocratic, and it does not hold harmful actors accountable. Our second idea. Harm versus value. We ask you to think about this. Does the current council actually maintain the peace? Does it protect the civilians it claims to protect? Or does it stall? Does it shield aggressor nations? Does it throw accountability outside of the window? If you believe the second description is the answer, the proposition ballot is the clear answer. Now let us move into our first substantive. Failure to prevent conflict. The UNSC was created to make sure that wars globally and humanitarian crises would be dealt with quickly and with the best course of action. Instead, it has responded to these global issues with inaction, with delay, with gridlock. The failure of the UNSC to function properly has directly led to the loss of innocent lives, led to more wars, led to longer wars, and the enabling of dictators' actions. The first layer of this substantive is deadlock. The council cannot respond like it's supposed to because of the veto power. This veto has allowed major powers to block even basic humanitarian issues and measures. Syria, Russia, and China have repeatedly vetoed UN resolutions since 2011. This includes the sanctions on Assad, arms embargoes, and referrals of atrocities to the International Criminal Court. More than 500,000 people, innocent people, have been killed. Entire cities have been reduced to rubble and dirt, and millions of refugees destabilize multiple regions across the world. The same inaction has appeared in Ukraine, where Russia used its veto power to block the dissent against its invasion, forcing the rest of the UN to use weaker methods of forced accountability in the General Assembly. In Myanmar, China and Russia used their veto to prevent sanctions against the military, even after the mass killings of Rohingya. In Gaza, the United States has used its veto repeatedly to block ceasefire resolutions, even though there's a lot of support. These are not isolated incidents. All of these incidents show that whenever a conflict even grazes the interests of one of the 5 remaining seats, 5 permanent seats, the council can't take proper action at all. Deadlock sends a message to authoritarian leaders everywhere that as long as they are aligned with one of the powerful 5, they will never face real consequences from the UN. That message ultimately encourages aggression from leaders and weakens deterrence, leading to more wars across the world. The second layer of the substantive is selective enforcement. Even when the council does manage to get its act together and it shows extreme bias. Time and time again, it uses international law to weaker states, but bends or ignores the law when powerful allies are involved. Here's an example. The council moved very fast to impose sanctions on smaller African nations in the 1990s, from Liberia to the Sierra Leone, but powerful members and allies of the Permanent 5, like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, or Russia and Russia and Chechnya, escaped the real consequences of their actions. In Yemen, where airstrikes and blockades caused one of the worst humanitarian crises of the century, attempts to establish an investigation into the war crimes were blocked under the influence of the Permanent Five members. Look at this and compare it to the speed at which the Council used for situations in Sudan or in the Central African Republic. The difference is not the impact or the size of the atrocities, but in whether the guilty had powerful governmental friends. This double standard corrodes the legitimacy of the Security Council. International law cannot function if it's only applied when it's convenient. Victims of war crimes in protected states see no justice, while victims in unprotected regions are told that they must face international scrutiny. This failure to prevent conflict is about lives lost, the dictators that are protected, and the abandonment of equal justice. Our second substantive is structural inequality. Beyond its practical failures, the Security Council is broken in design. Its structure of inequality is built into the foundation of the United Nations. The first layer of the substantive is representation. The permanent members of the UNSC, the United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, and France were picked up in 1945 after World War II. But that state of the world no longer exists. Today, Africa is home to 54 countries and more than 1.4 billion people. It has no permanent seat. Latin America, with over 600 million people, it has no permanent seat. South Asia, with nearly 2 billion people, it has no permanent seat. Meanwhile, Europe, with less than 10% of the global population, has 2 permanent seats. This clearly shows an outdated history, and it actively shapes outcomes of legislative influence today. When discussions come up about conflicts in Africa, Latin America, or South Asia, decisions are made without those places having a permanent voice at the table. That means the people that are being directly impacted by the Council's actions are left out from making decisions about the outcome that will ultimately impact their region. It is hard to call an institution legitimate when whole continents are permanently being silenced. And the second layer of the substantive is veto power. A single permanent member can overrule the will of nearly 200 other countries. Since 1946, more than 200 resolutions have been killed by veto. This is the power to decide who lives and who dies, who faces justice and who can escape from it. It changes the Security Council from a united delegation into the tool of the permanent seats. The power of veto also prevents any reform of the Council itself, so the system is locked, because the very countries that benefit from it had the power to stop any actual change. If the UNSC was created to protect lives, uphold justice, and to reflect the voices of all nations, then it has failed beyond measure. Getting rid of it is the only clear way for a new system that is fairer, more democratic, and more effective. This is why we on Side Proposition are proud to propose this motion.